Hi, today in this video I will address the basic transformation that we need inside the map. So my name is Sandro Pereira, and in this video we will not only address the basic needs or principles of a map, but what are the existing mapping options in Microsoft integration space, and we will compare them with the new Logic App standard data mapper. So I wrote a few years ago a 400 page about BSOC mapping patterns and best practices. It's still a very valuable book, and it's a free book about XSLT transformations. Focus, of course, in using inside the BSOC mapper. It is free. It has not only 12 mapping patterns, but explaining all of these needs, the basic principle, how it works, and so on and so forth. Um, and and basically on that book, I mentioned that the most basic needs or transformation needs inside a map is about a simple direct copy of a value from the source system to the destination schema or message. Okay, that is the most basic and most used transformation that we use inside a map. So we are not manipulating the data inside the field, we are just copy from one side to the other. There is a lot about concatenation values. Most of the maps, it's common to have a kind of concat information and send it to the destination. Condition selections, okay? Copy a certain field based on a certain condition, or apply a certain transformation based on a certain condition. Of course, custom scripting, okay? Extending, creating our script to apply a transformation rule and add new data. So something that doesn't exist on the source system, on the source message, but we need to add it to the destination message. Okay. So what are the existing mapping options in Microsoft in these days? The the oldest one is the BSOC server mapper editor. Okay, so BSOC as 23 years old. It has an amazing BSOC mapper editor. It can transform XML to XML. Okay, we are going to see in a few seconds how this works also. We have a Logic App consumption mapper editor. Basically, it's the same editor that exists inside BStalk, but Microsoft decided to kind of lift and shift and put it in an isolate way so we can create schemas and maps also for our Logic App consumptions. We also can use that in Logic App standard, by the way, but we need an integration account, okay? Normally, at least. And Logic App standard data mapper, the new data mapper that we are going to focus more here, but we are going to compare these two existing ones with the data mapper. Okay, so let's bring the first one, and this is a BSOC server environment, and this is the mapper editor of BSOC server. We define the source schema, we define the target schema or the destination schema, and in the middle we have our grid area, our area where we put all the transformations. Okay, and that squares that you see in the middle, they are called functoids. They apply some transformation operation and a transformation to the data. Okay, kind of a function. So in this case it's a concat functoid. So we are concatting the first name and the last name. We see that we are separating with a comma and a space, and we are putting in the full name. We are applying a custom script here. Okay, and basically this is a C# function, a custom function that is based on the the data of my birth is going to calculate my age. Okay, we cannot do that kind of transformation using the basics or the built-in functoids available in the Beanstalk mapper. We have a direct transformation. We are copying the value of the address and putting the address of the destination message, and we are do a condition mapping here on the zip code. In this case, what we are doing is if exists zip code on the source message, because it's an optional field, we are going to map it to the destination. Otherwise, we are not going to map it, okay? Because it's different mapping if it exists, or if it's empty, just create an empty on the other side. Here, if it doesn't exist, it doesn't create an empty on the other side. It just do not copy, do not create that element in the other side. We are adding new data here because there is no processing data on the source system, on the source message, and we are in runtime of the execution creating a datetime for the destination message. And we are doing a lot of conditional mapping also here. So in this case, and loopings also. Okay? I have a list of phone calls, and based on what I say that is an international call or national call, we are going to do the sum of the cost of these calls and have a total international call and a total of national calls. Okay, I decide that is national if the phone number starts with +351, that is in the code of Portugal. So if it's I'm going to get the first 4 elements. If it is equal to +351, then is going to be I'm going to map the cost and I'm going to do a cumulative sum, and I'm going to add the total national. Otherwise, I'm going to add it to the total international. And I have here a sample of the message. We are going to use this sample, the same sample, in all maps. So you see that we will be able to do the same transformation in all the existing mappings. Okay. So in Beanstalk, we can go to the map, do right-click properties, and define an input sample. And without deploying nothing, just inside Visual Studio, right-click and test map. Okay, and that will going to generate on the output the result of that transformation. So it has the input message and the output message. So if I click that and just indent the result, you see that I have a full name, Pereira Sound, because I put last name and then the first name, my age 45, which is correct, my address, that was just a copy from one side to the other, and a zip code, and a process date, and total international calls 15 and national calls 2.7. And it's actually correct because 0.5 and then 1.5 will make 2, and then 2.2, and then 2.7. So it's correct. And international is 10 plus 5, 15, which the output match. So all good, amazing. Okay. Also, kind of these functoids lives on this toolbox, and the toolbox inside the Beanstalk mapper has all the functoids that I can drag and drop to my data grid, and I can use it inside. So if I go here, for example, to the string functoids, I can say, for example, uppercase, and drag it for here and just put kind of mapping one side, and then I had to go and map to the destination side, and that it is. So I don't need to do nothing else. I already have the transformation, and this will apply kind of I'm going to do a uppercase to that function here. Just let me delete because this was not correct. And yeah, this is the bstock mapper. Now let's see the second one, the logic app consumption mapper editor, which is quite familiar with the bstock map. It is look and feel the same, but in reality this is another map. See that this is another window, and this is the logic app map. Okay? Even if I go to the project, I say right click, add new item, you see that on the templates I have a logic app and I have a map and schemas. So this is the logic app mapper editor, and again Microsoft decided to just lift and ship and put the same capabilities, the same designer outside the bstock project inside Visual Studio, so we don't need a bstock environment to create the maps and, for example, migrate the bstock solutions, at least the maps from bstock solution from bstock to logic app. That was the primary goal of Microsoft. On those days they released this map. This map works with Visual Studio 2019 only. Okay, and again it is the same. You see that the toolbox has the same functoids, the look and feel is the same transformation applies. So we have everything, and again, if we apply the same message, and we can actually say properties, define the input message that is no longer here. So let me define here, and let me just find where is my project, and this is going to be kind of here. So properties, and go to the project solution files. There you go, person origin, and I can do the same stuff as right click test map, and on the output is going to provide the same result. So, and again I have the same Sandro Pereira, because here I put first name and last name, otherwise it was going to be the same. 45, my address, zip code, process date time, and then we have the total international 15 and 2.7 on the national, which is the same result that we got on the bstock map. Okay, so all good here. The only one that we are missing, it is the data mapper. So let me close this one just because not to consume too much memory. Let me close that one also, and let me bring the data mapper. So and this is the data mapper. We have the same origin schema, we have the same target schema, and we are going to apply the same transformation. Okay, so let's enter on the person target, and you see that, well, it is different, completely different, because it's a new design, but we see that now we have kind of the same concat operation. And I mentioned that in bstock and in the logic app consumption, these squares were called functoids. Here on the data map, they are called functions, but they are the same. They apply a function to manipulate the data from the source system to the destination system. And we don't have a toolbox anymore, but we have a function panel, and we have the same type, kind of the same concept of type of functions, and inside each type of functions we have different functions or different operations that we can apply in our transformation. So concat operation, contains, and so on and so forth. So a concat is possible to do. We concat, we can open here the panel, the last name with the first name. Okay. At the moment, when I'm doing this video, custom functions are not supported, or custom scripting is not supported. Microsoft already mentioned and announced in Integrate 2023 a month ago that this capability is going to be released soon. So we are going to actually be able to create also custom functions to be used inside our map. Okay, and this custom function is going to be built based on XSLT 3.0 and XPath also. But despite I cannot create a custom function or a script to do the age calculation, we can also do the same using a chain of functions and apply the same age concept. We are going to see that working in a few minutes. We can do conditional mapping. So if exists this, we are going to map that to the zip code. So if zip code exists, we are going to map that. Otherwise, we are not going to map. We can also create and add new data. As we saw on the BSOC mapper, a timestamp on the execution of that map. We can also do the same, get current date value, and we get a processing data. And of course, you saw that huge amount of chain transformation that was doing the total of national calls and international calls. We can do exactly the same using a different functions, different approach, similar, but we can actually do that. And if starts with plus 351, then we need to map that to a sum, and it's going to be added to the local national, otherwise to the international calls. And if we test this with the same payload that you are seeing here, so it's exactly the same payload, and test it, we see that we have full name Pereira Sandro, age 45, address, zip code, processing date, and if you notice, total national 2.7, total international 15. So exactly same. All these basic principles of the maps can be applied both in BStock. I was completely sure about that, because that map as 23 years old, so it's very stable, very powerful, but you can only do XML to XML transformations. We have the Logicamp consumption map that it is the same, so we actually can do the same. Again, XML to XML. And this new data mapper, the only thing that we are missing here for now is the ability of creating custom scripting, but we can do the same. And in this case, with this new data mapper, we can do XML to XML, XML to JSON, JSON to XML, or JSON to JSON. And in the future, CSV also going to be supported, and we can do a lot more transformations using that map than with the previous ones. Okay, so let's dig a little bit and try to create from the scratch these basic principles. So it's good to see here, but how I was able to create all of this, no? So let's create a new map, and call it basic principles of maps BPM POC. Okay. It opens a new map, empty. We need to define the source schema, and from the source schema we are going to say that this is person origin, add it, and from the destination schema this is going to be person target, okay, and add it. So we define the source and the target schema, quite easy, no? So now what you need to do is entering in the record of the target schema that we need to map. So in this case, person target. Okay, and then we need to select from the source schema what are the elements that we are going to use here on this region. Okay, so it's going to be the first name, last name, date of birth, address, and zip code. Okay, so full name is quite easy. Now we need to go to the function that is a string, or we can actually search for concat, and we have a concat operation. We click it here and say this is the, let's say, last name. We need to add a new field on the new input, because we need a separation between what is the last name and the first name, otherwise it stays together. So this is going to be a custom value. It's going to be a comma and a space, and then this is going to be the first name, and we need to map that to the full name, and that's it. We have our first transformation rule created. So the date of birth is a little more complicated, but still doable. So we are going to create that. So first we need a substring, and we need the age, the date of birth, sorry, and this is going to be starting from 0 position, and length will be 5. So in this case we are going to get the first characters of the data of birth. That's a string, but that string is in the format a year, month, and date, so we are going to get the year. Okay, and we are going to then, because that's a string that has an integer, I'm going to convert two integer force to be an integer. Okay, and that is going to be the substring. And then I could get the current date based on another functoid, but I'm going to cheat a little bit here. So I'm going to do a subtract, just for simplicity. Okay, subtract, math subtract, and I'm going to put the current year in a static mode. I need to use, if I want that completely dynamic, I want to use, I should use the get the year, or get date, and get the year of the current year, and then subtract with the year that I got from my data of birth, and then put on the age, and then save it. Okay, so now we don't need to do all the transformation and then test it. We can actually go and let me see if I have the message here. Otherwise I need to get the message. Okay, good enough. I shouldn't close my Visual Studio, but no problem. I'm going to open that. So we save it, and we're going to test it, and we need to paste here the payload. So give me just a second to open the project again, and get this kind of payload. Come on, Visual Studio, bear with me, and we have it here. And then if I test it, we already have full name, age, good. So you see that this kind of put one shape in overlap situation. This is a limitation for now. Microsoft is improving that. So if you want to solve that, create again in person target, and it's going to render a little bit that. Okay, but then we need to go and add it the missing attributes elements. So now the age is quite simple, just mapping from one side to the other. That's it. It's a direct mapping. And the zip code is a conditional mapping. So I'm going to put exist. I'm going to say if exist, and the exist function is going to be the zip code, and then it's going to be the, sorry, not this one, if, and this if any, the conditional, the if accepts a boolean on the first input, and then the parameter to map if that is true. So exist, and then I want to map if exists the zip code, and map this to the zip code on the right. And then to add the current date, there is a function saying current date and value, date time value, and this one is going to be mapped over here. So save it, click here again, just render a little bit this, and now let me collapse this, sorry, and now if I save it and test it again, we have our first part of our transformation done. Awesome. Now we need the total national calls and international calls. That's going to be a little bit more complex. So let's go in for that phone billing, and then let's select our phone number and cost. So the first thing that I need to see if it's the phone number starts with the +351, that is the Portuguese national code. So let's go for the start with. So if my phone number starts with custom value +351, then I need an if else operation. The if else operation reserves a true or false. If it's true, what is the value that I need to map, so the cost. So if it's true, if it starts with +351, then I need to map the cost. Otherwise, if not true, it's a zero integer. Okay, and just to be sure, because sometimes we need to force to correct, this is going to be a number, okay, kind of a decimal, and this is going for if then else, and then I need a sum, and that sum is going, the scope, the collection of the sum is the number. The scope, it is the phone calls, okay, and is going to the national, and save it. And again, a lot of shapes on top of each other. Click on the phone billing, and that will kind of render a little bit better now. Now if we test again, we see that we have our national call 2.7 now. Awesome. So we need to, missing is the international calls. So what I need to do, it is have now a logical node. So a logical node, if receives a true, converts to a false. If it receives a false, converts to a true. So that means that this value is going to be the start with. So if it doesn't start, if it starts with +351, it will not do nothing because it's going to receive a true, converts to a false. It's not going to map nothing from there above, because we are going to see that. Otherwise, if it's a false, that means that we are talking about an international call, so it will convert to a true, and then it's going to map that. And then again, we need if else. And with that if else, in this time I'm going to the not, the logical not, and the value, if it's true, is going to be the cost, otherwise is going to be a 0. And again, I need a sum, no, sorry, a two number again. And this two number is going to map this to that one. And then finally, I need another sum. And that sum is going to map this to this one. Sorry. So it's going to map this number. The scope is the phone calls, and then I need to map this to this one and save it, fix that, and then test this again, and there you go, we have 15. So we can do all the same transformation in different, of course, and this map is going to be a little bit different. We need to use different functions. There is a new interface, but we can still apply the same concepts here. I hope you enjoy it, and see you in the next video about that mapper.